If you're a new writer, I have some great news for you. Writing can be taught. I recently had a publisher request my full manuscript and my proposal, and now I want to teach you my top 10 tips to help you write better instantly. So if you've ever dreamed of writing a book that actually works, keep it right here. In this video series, I'm going to take your writing from amateur to publishable. You'll keep learning and growing your entire career, but the fastest, most noticeable improvements happen right here with the basics. Authors aren't born, they are forged through craft and lots of drafts. These 10 tips transformed my storytelling, and they can do the same for you. Don't take notes. I've got a free downloadable PDF linked in the description so you can focus on learning these top 10 tips. Tip number 1 is something that I call prove it. You may or may not have heard that we're supposed to show and not tell as writers. Let's say the author writes, "She was scared." Obviously, they're telling. Well, we want to show. So instead of "she was scared," how about something like, "Color drained from her face. She backed into the wall. Her breath shallow." Do you see the difference? Showing invites the reader to be a part of this, to be a witness and observer, instead of feeding them the information. I almost imagine some obnoxious kid at the back of a class yelling, "Prove it!" We should have that inner voice always challenging our writing. And it's going to be challenging what you read too, because you're going to see authors do this, where they're telling you something and you're going to have that voice that's saying, "Well, prove it. Don't just tell me, show me." So if you have to ask yourself, did I prove it? Then that's a good indication that you're telling and not showing. But there's another part of prove it that we don't really cover in show don't tell, which is, do I need to? Because let's be honest, if we slow down to prove every single emotion that we're trying to convey, it might drag the story along when we don't want to. Sometimes the character doesn't have the emotional range to be feeling all these things at once. And sometimes if it's a high action scene, we might not want to slow down and show it. That's really where your authorship comes in. I imagine your story as a ship and you're the captain. You are guiding us on this big ocean. You're pointing the ship where we're supposed to be going. And personally, as your reader, if you're taking me to, say, Plot Twist Island, I'm not sure that I want you to slow down. That's where you make those big decisions. Do I show this? Do I prove it? Do I have to? Now, when in doubt, most times, probably 99% of the time, you should be showing. And if you come across telling, you should start to hear this little voice in the back of your head. Prove it! Point number 2 is something that I call prune the prose. We have to omit the needless words.
I have a fig tree in my backyard, and bear with me, this all applies. Over the past 3 years, it's grown tall and bushy. It looked green and healthy, but there's just one problem. It wasn't bearing much fruit. So I learned that the tree was wasting its energy with too many weak or crowded branches that were siphoning nutrients away from the base. So I decided to trim it. I cut away the limp limbs, the tangled shoots, even the ones that looked healthy but weren't pulling their weight. And this summer, my tree exploded with figs. Editing is the same. The more weak writing you leave in, especially repetitive or unnecessary bits, the more the power of your story is diluted. Your narrative tries to feed too many branches, but when you trim intentionally, even words or sentences that are hard to give up, you're not losing beauty, you're focusing it.
And that can be really hard as a writer because you put them in there. You may not even remember why, but you had a reason to write them. So it can be hard to kill our darlings. Every sentence, every word should pull its own weight. It should be driving the plot forward, it should be revealing character, or it should be adding tension.
By channeling energy into the strongest scenes, the most vivid images, and the cleanest sentences, your writing will bear better fruit.
And if you cut so much that you're starting to feel like your writing is becoming stilted or robotic, then that's okay. Unlike my fig tree, you can add some back in. Tip number 3 is something that I call skip the toothbrushing. Often new writers feel the need to show every part of a person's life to capture realism and authenticity. But real life isn't a story. It's raw footage, and you as a writer are the editor. We don't want to see the fluff and the boring stuff. We want you to cut that out and make it sharp and strong so that we're experiencing story. We don't need to see your character brushing their teeth or tying their shoes or having their cereal for breakfast, unless we're learning something about the characters. So if your protagonist is brushing her teeth and she's staring down at the blood crusted on her knuckles, well, we're learning something. But often, if we're just showing them going through their routines and it doesn't tell us anything, it's just mirroring real life, that's on the nose writing, and we want to avoid that. Now, you might have a loved one tell you that it was great and it was just how they start their day and it was so real. What they're really trying to tell you is, I was bored, but I love you. So every detail should earn its place. The ordinary is okay as long as it's doing something extraordinary. Readers want momentum, not minute-by-minute realism. Now, number 4 is my favorite, and it's the quickest way you can improve your writing, and that is sticking to the words said and asked. These words are invisible to the reader. Grab a book off your shelf and tell me that you even notice where said and asked are written. We gloss over them. They're so inundated in the story and they're so commonly used that we don't even see them. And we should use that to our advantage. So when you have a character saying that they exclaimed or they opined, that's drawing attention back to the author. We don't want to be seen. We want the reader to just see the story, to see the characters. Use something like he intoned, and I am immediately pulled out of the story. And it's amateurish because it's also doing too much and telling too much. If you want emotion, show it in the words themselves, or the character's body language, or their action. Let the dialogue do the work. Now, some of these tips, like this one in particular, might start to ruin some of your favorite books. There are some really great best-selling authors out there and some amazing books that still have trouble with this and still use this. Now, if you're selling thousands and hundreds of thousands of copies, you can get away with this stuff. But if you ask most authors, they will agree that you want to stick to said and asked. Take this line, for example. "It's all your fault," she accused. As a reader, I feel like the author thinks that I'm not smart enough to understand that "it's all your fault" is an accusation. You're giving me the lines and then you're spoon feeding me what they mean. Let me be part of it. Let me infer that. And any writing coach will tell you that dialogue tags are a manner of speaking. You can't accuse something. You can't protest something. What can you do? You can say something or mumble something, but it has to be a manner of speaking. So all of that to say, number 4, said is invisible. Just use said. Number 5 is don't filter. Words like he saw, she felt, they noticed, or I realized act like a pane of glass between your reader and the story. They filter the experience through the character instead of letting us experience it directly. The character is our camera, our point of view. So if she sees something, we'll know she saw it. So don't say she felt the wind whip through her jacket. Just say the wind whipped through her jacket. It's cleaner, it's closer, and it draws the reader into the immediacy of the moment. And pro tip, this is a great opportunity to reveal something about your character by the way that they interpret what they're seeing. You can have a pessimistic character focus on flaws. You can have an optimistic character focus on the good. This will reveal something about your character subtly without being overly explicit. So we're already halfway through this list. I hope you're learning something. I hope you're feeling encouraged. Will you tenderly tap that subscribe button and follow me? I'm in this really exciting time where my manuscript is with an editor. I have a publisher waiting for my proposal, and I hope to share all of my experiences, what I learned moving through the industry and working with these professionals so that I can teach and better help those who are in the position where I was 15 years ago. Back then, I was buying all the books, I joined the Jerry Jenkins Writers Guild, and I did everything I could to really get a leg up on the competition. And just a reminder, I have the PDF linked in the description. My goal is to share this journey so we can all learn together, from insider tips to industry secrets and everything in between. As I progress, what I learn will be shared right here on this channel. So let's get back to the list. Tip number 6 is 1 + 1 = 1/2. And while I don't claim to have created any of these tips, number 6 particularly goes to Saul Stein, who said that by adding 2 great descriptions, they lose power. That's to say that if you have 2 great ways of saying something, choose one. If you try to stack them, you're going to lose something. They're going to compete with each other, cannibalize each other, and take away from the story. So just pick the better one and move on. Number 7 has to do with passive voice versus active voice. I see this in a lot of early writers, and it's an easy fix. I call it choose the hammer, not the nail. we want to always choose a subject that is completing the action. So passive voice is when the subject has something done to them. Active voice is where the subject is doing the action. Passive would be the window was shattered by the storm. Active, the storm shattered the window. It's an easy fix, but it's also easy to fall into this passive voice. Active voice gives clarity and energy. It puts the subject in control. So let your subject lead the charge and let your verb drive the action. Tip number 8 is plant your flag. Another quick way to strengthen your writing is by cutting out the qualifiers. So words like kind of, almost, a little, or seemed weaken your voice. They sound like the narrator isn't quite sure of what they want to say. That's fine in inner thought, but in narration you need to be bold. You need to take a stance. So don't say, she seemed kind of upset. Own the line, commit to the sentence, plant your flag. She was furious. Don't hedge your bets here. If the remark isn't strong enough that you feel you have to add a qualifier, maybe it doesn't need to be there at all. And even if the character's perception of what's going on is fuzzy, your writing doesn't have to be. Tip number 9 is distill your dialogue. Now, dialogue is one of the easiest ways we can improve our writing. One of my favorite writing teachers, James Scott Bell, says that we should use dialogue as a weapon. And I love that idea. In fact, I find that it's more exciting to write good dialogue than it is to write a fight scene. Because in dialogue, the words can be just as sharp, just as cutting as a sword fight. And often I have both in the fiction that I write. Every character's dialogue should be pulling double duty. Each character speaking, they want to accomplish something. They have a goal. They're saying these words for a reason. Otherwise, cut it. So cut the filler, drop the pleasantries, skip the ums and the throat clearing and the weather talk. Dialogue doesn't have to mirror real life. That would just be boring. And look at that, we're already to number 10. Tip number 10 is no crutches. If your sentence relies on words like really, very, chances are your verbs and nouns aren't strong enough. And if your prose is packed with adverbs like quickly, angrily, happily, suddenly, you might be leaning too hard on modifiers instead of choosing the right verb. So a weak sentence is, he walked angrily toward the door. Stronger would be, he stormed toward the door. He stalked to the door. A weak sentence is, the building was very big. How about the building was towering? The building loomed over him. A well-chosen verb does more than just move the sentence along. It carries emotion, tone, pacing. And modifiers are crutches for weak language. So those are my top 10 ways to instantly improve your writing. If you learned something, like this video, share it with a friend, and tenderly tap that subscribe button. You can also check out my website, benransomauthor.com. On my blog, I share more writing tips and advice, personal anecdotes, and lots of other things I've learned in my 15 years of writing and editing. Don't forget, I have a free downloadable PDF linked in the description. Print it up, keep it at your desk until you master these. Then come right back to this channel where I'm going to have advanced tips and lots of other writing advice so you can grow. So did I leave out one of your favorites? Throw it in the comments and help your fellow writer. Now, of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but this is the quickest way, in my opinion, to improve your writing and to start a foundation that you're going to build upon throughout your entire writing career. I'm so excited to share this journey with you. Thank you for watching the video. Keep writing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.